crazy how many teams had a chance to win. The Ripper GC went from 9 back to leading by 2 to near the cellar again late in the day. It was so volatile, counting 4 scores. It was pretty nuts, but you know, the cliques have been cellar dwellers for basically 2.5 seasons, and they come out victorious today. That's awesome.
Be the summer of the cliques, definitely. So, like I said, there's definitely more to come from us.
It was a magnificent ball striking performance.
Yeah, you know, I got to speak to someone in his camp before he teed off this morning, and they said to me that he is finally feeling extremely comfortable out here. He's not thinking about any swing thought. He's going out there, he's swinging so freely, and it certainly showed today. The way he drove the ball, the way he hit his irons, and even in his putting as well.
Yeah, and lives in Texas, went to school in Texas. His tour win on the PGA Tour was here in Houston, which is Texas, and now his first live win, Texas.
Honestly, it was just a matter of playing solid coming down the stretch. I think there was a switch there on 15 that I made birdie, he made bogey, and I just knew that I had to power in pretty much, and it was mine. The 18 I made bogey, but it worked. He played unbelievable, and he put pressure all the way to the end, and it was a good battle. I love playing here. Obviously, Texas treats me well. It's my adopted home state, so I'm just happy to get it done again in Houston.
Welcome to hour number 2. It's a Friday, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that Spiz Grizz network. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. 2 more hours to go, live until 11 a.m. Eastern time to get you set for this weekend. A weekend on this Friday that includes the opening 2 games, a doubleheader today in Omaha, Nebraska for the 2024 Men's College World Series. A Friday that is already underway with round number 2 at our nation's national championship. It's the 2024 United States Open at Pinehurst number 2. The marquee group of Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, and Rory McIlroy already on the course, about 4 or 5 holes into their second round, with Rory entering round 2 atop the leaderboard. He has fallen back 1 over early on his Friday. And then so much to get to as we look forward to Game 4 tonight in Dallas of the 2024 NBA Finals. Is it over tonight? Will it be yet another Celtics sweep? Or can Dallas at least force a Game 5 on Monday in Boston? What a Friday show we have.
Yeah, it's a great Friday show. And also, by the way, take a look at Pinehurst number 2 and how much fun that golf course actually looks. It looks like it's going to be tricked out for this weekend because I don't think we're expecting too many rains here, which means that course is going to dry out. And if the winds kick up just a little bit, watch out for some of those scores tumbling down. So many times we watch the USGA for the U.S. Open, and it's typically like, Ben, right? Longer golf courses, you miss the fairway, it's absolutely over. You know what I'm getting a kick out of this is you're hitting it into that wire grass, and it's almost like you're playing like a little Russian roulette at that point. Sometimes you get a decent lie, sometimes you don't. Sometimes just runs off the fairway and gets in those little sandy pits there. It's a fantastic tournament here that I can't wait to watch it over Friday, Saturday, Sunday play out.
Things are getting diabolical, which is what the USGA loves to do at a U.S. Open to make it the toughest test in golf for the best players in the world. A clip has been circulating around social media of Mark Hubbard nearly jarring one on the fly on his opening hole of the day to only have it spin fully off the green. He was literally inches away from holing out from the fairway for an eagle, only to have to get up and down to try to even save a par. But we start this second hour on this Friday with big football news and big money for Trevor Lawrence. A 5-year, $275 million extension agreed to last night between Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's $55 million per year on an annual average basis. That, alongside Joe Burrow, makes Trevor Lawrence the highest paid player in the history of the National Football League.
If you are, let's just say, because again, it's all theoretical at this point, a top 10 level quarterback, or let's just call it a franchise quarterback, the team has identified you as the guy to lead that. This is what the contracts are talking about and how much they cost at this point. Because I know everybody goes, oh, Patrick Mahomes should get $80 million. It's just a matter of when you sign that contract. And typically, yes, you can rework deals for guys like Patrick Mahomes and give them more money. But it's understanding, like, when you go get your contract, you reset the market. By the time your contract technically comes up in 2 to 3 years, it looks like you're going to be woefully underpaid as long as you're a starting quarterback. So nobody should wake up today and say, oh, my goodness, I can't believe 5 years, $275 is the going rate for Trevor Lawrence. Boy, you overpaid for him. No, you didn't. That's just the price of the brick, as we say, continues to go up. It's the same thing with the housing market. Guy down the street sells a house for X amount of dollars. That's your starting point on you selling your house so you can move. And the guy that's going to do that after you move, the same exact thing. Don't be surprised by these numbers. Just take a look at the organizations that have drugged their feet here on some of these big contracts. Dallas Cowboys were looking at you. It's unbelievable if you would have just got these deals done. I'm not even talking about then years ago, just weeks ago, how much money you would save. Do you remember when they hit there like, wow, Jalen Hurts is going to get around $50 million. That's unbelievably incredible. He's not even in the top 5 anymore at this point. Why? Because the Philadelphia Eagles went first here and knowing the next quarterbacks are going to make more money, and more money. Don't be surprised by these numbers anymore.
It's the dangerous part of the waiting game. Maybe your natural thought is Trevor Lawrence played for Urban Meyer in year number 1. We'll give him a pass despite 17 interceptions. He was great in year number 2, his first under Doug Peterson, leading the Jacksonville Jaguars to come from behind to win the AFC South and that come from behind playoff victory over the LA Chargers. 25 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, more than 4,100 passing yards. That was the vision of the number 1 overall pick and the prince that was promised well before the 2021 NFL Draft. But last year was a struggle in 2023. The first time in his NFL career that he even missed a game. And he was banged up down the final month and a half when the Jaguars stumbled, lost the division, allowing C.J. Stroud in Houston to take it for the Texans. 21 touchdowns to 14 INTs a season ago. So maybe, and it's a natural and common sense thought, your idea is, well, Trevor Lawrence, 3 years of his 5-year rookie deal. The Jags picked up his 5th-year team option under contract for 2 years. Why wouldn't you wait at least to see how he performs in 2024 if he truly looks like the face of the franchise that you want to invest in moving forward? The waiting game is dangerous for 2 main reasons. One, the price of the brick going up. If somebody, and I believe somebody will, a quarterback this offseason outside of T-Law is paid north of $55 million, then you're going to have to pay him way more next year if he has a successful 2024 campaign. And number 2, you pay him now that $55 million per year and $275 million total with $200 million guaranteed. 5-year contract extension is actually averaged out over the final 2 years of his rookie contract when the per year value is substantially less, so that your burden on the franchise over 7 years of Trevor Lawrence is not nearly as bad. It is why you pay up, and it is why you pay now, even, and I think it's natural once again, if you have questions about Trevor Lawrence truly being the guy for Jacksonville for the next 5 years plus.
And also, let's take a look at what's the theory behind waiting here. Like, is Jacksonville actually so diabolical? Like, look, we're not going to sign you this year. You know what? We hope you suck next year so we can get you at $100 million discount and then we'll sign you. Well, who would do that? Like, why would you want that? Like, oh, well, thank God he was bad last year. We missed the playoffs. Now we'll sign him cheaper and maybe he's not a good quarterback and we'll never sign him again. If you identified this guy as your franchise guy and you expect him to play well, and nothing really from his career says like, wow, that's going to be a major bust at this point. We all thought he was a generational quarterback coming in. Now he's the talent surrounding him. He just has to prove it on the field. But I always love that. Like, wait on what? Like, again, with Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones. You know Dak is going to have a very good regular season every single year. So Jerry Jones waiting on the fact that Dak is going to be terrible. And we're like, oh, you know what? We hope Trevor Lawrence goes down with a devastating ACL injury so he can save on his contract next year. It's ludicrous why these teams wait around here. Right. If it's your quarterback, you feel comfortable in your future with them, sign them immediately when they're eligible for an extension. You will save money in the long term. Like, again, if you signed Trevor Lawrence back in March, you saved millions of dollars on your salary cap. They waited, and look what it cost them now.
Yeah, if you're giving somebody a prove-it year, a head coach or a player, namely a quarterback, your hope is, right, they would have success. And if they do indeed prove it, then you're only going to have to pay them more. And not a couple of dollars more, a couple of $1 million more per year. Now for Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville. Last offseason, Donnie, the Jags were the favorites to win the AFC South. They were the young up-and-coming team within the AFC. Could they be the team that could contend for a conference crown? Now that conversation is C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, and the Jags with a win total of 8.5 and a plus 124 playoff price are kind of the forgotten team within that division. What is your expectation for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville this season?
I do like them this year. Now, having said that, do you like them to get to the AFC Championship game? I don't know about that. But sometimes you like last year, they were the it team in that division and didn't succeed. Sometimes they take a step back, like, okay, nobody's paying attention to us. There's a lot of talent on that team. And again, it's balanced on Trevor Lawrence having a productive season. I think he will. I think they'll do some good things here and make the playoffs coming up next season.
More news around the NFL, some interesting news in college football and collegiate athletics up next.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at, what, even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The long-awaited tampering violations of the potential penalties for both the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles have been handed down, or at least in the ATL. The Falcons were found to have tampered in the offseason acquisitions of Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, and Charlie Werner. They have been fined $250,000 as an organization, and probably most severely lost a 5th-round pick for next year's 2025 NFL draft. Terry Fontenot, the general manager in Atlanta, has also been fined himself individually $50K. However, your Birds, DRS, no sufficient evidence that they tampered. Just James Franklin yapping his mouth. But other than that, no official tampering violations for Philly.
Let's get something straight. It was a couple weeks ago, I believe we were talking about college football. And I told you people out here, kids, look, maybe you're already out of school right now and you're listening. I'm going to tell you right now, cheat on everything you can. Cheat on your test, cheat on every single thing in life because it will never, ever catch up to you. You had a general manager battling for his life down in Atlanta. You know what he said to himself? I got to cheat and make sure I get Kirk Cousins because if I don't think I'm going to have a winning season and I'm probably going to be fired. Let me reach out, break every single rule I can in the NFL regarding free agency. And you know what they did? They fined me $50,000 when I probably make well over $1 million per year. And also, they took away a fifth-round draft pick, which if anybody doesn't know what a fifth-round draft pick is, that is a practice squad backup guard that will probably never play for your franchise. And instead, you know what you did? You reset the market, got your quarterback, and will probably win. Moral of the story, in any part of life, just continue to cheat because it pays off. And we're proven by this, Ben, every single day.
Kids, if you're listening and you're on summer break, just start the cheating philosophy next year when the school year
Hack
returns.
into your school and change your A's for your B's to A's. Do it because you know what? They catch you, they'll probably still give you the A for initiative there. So there you go. Yeah.
Allegedly. Let's not tie anything back to the early line. That's Donnie Rightside. Ben Stevens disavows. Listen, draft capital is valuable. Even if it is a fifth-round pick, you never know what that selection could have been or could it have been packaged in a deal somewhere down the line. Who's to say? But the punishment's not nearly all that severe. And if you think Atlanta and maybe Philly were the only ones maybe negotiating before the league year officially begins, you're wrong. All 32 clubs do it. Just some were dumber to say it out loud, like James Franklin and like Kirk Cousins in his own introductory press conference. Just like kids, if you do cheat and your parents ask, say that Donnie Rightside said something, but that was it, and don't admit to it. By the way, one thing that the early line as a whole will disavow is advocating for school children to cheat. One thing the early line as a whole will be behind. Can we sponsor a conference in college sports? The Early Line MAC Conference? The Early Line Conference that features Kent State, Akron, Bowling Green, and so on and so forth? Because that is the future of college football and college sports as a whole. We got these breaking news reports yesterday from ESPN's Pete Thamel and Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger and Action Network's Brett McMurphy that the Big 12 was in conversations, and Conference Commissioner Brett Yormark pitched to his conference chancellors and presidents last month in May they could sell the naming rights not to just a stadium, but to the conference as a whole. And Brett McMurphy followed that Allstate was the main corporation the Big 12 was negotiating with for a licensing and naming rights deal that would be somewhere in the ballpark of $30 to $50 million. Do you like the idea, Donnie?
Yeah, and you know what? This is such a good idea for college sports that the professional ranks are going to take notice of this. Hey, we can sell the NFC and the AFC to, let's just say, Visa and MasterCard and how much money we can make on top of that. This is the new realm that we're dealing with in college sports here. It is an arms race, and it's an arms race to make money. I can't even fault him anymore. Like the Big 12. Like, what are they saying? Like the Big would go away, and then you just put the Dr. Pepper 12 conference. I mean, that's really what we're getting to. But again, it doesn't really... Yeah, exactly. It doesn't bother me all that much at this point because I understand where we're going in college sports and whoever can make the most amount of money, go ahead and make it. So I can't, usually in the past, I would get upset. I'm like, I love tradition. But you know what I would do, Ben? Hear me out on this. If I won Powerball tomorrow, I would buy the Rose Bowl naming rights, but you know what I would do to it? I just wouldn't play the game. I would eat the hundreds of millions of dollars every single season just so they wouldn't play that game anymore. That's the type of stuff I want to invest in. Invest in ruining bowl season, and we'll be better off for it. How about that?
Okay, first off, buy then a bowl that happens a week and a half before the Rose Bowl, because in the 12-team CFP era, the Rose Bowl is always going to be included in the college football playoff rotation. So buy something else. To Donnie's point, The bottom line is always the focus. In college football is the main economic engine in collegiate athletics. Why this all seems like it is happening in such a rapid rate is because the NCAA has lost. The fraudulent business model that has gone in front of the court, even the highest court in this land, the Supreme Court, and has been slammed down time and again. The facade that was the amateur business model that has been operating for a century in the past decade successfully is now no longer a thing. And that is why everything feels like a money grab. But it is a money grab because this idea of the amateur model has given way to what we always know. It's a business, and it's about making money. And it's a billion-dollar business model in college sports, mainly led by college football. So they are trying to make a buck. It makes sense from that perspective, albeit kind of dumb, and certainly something for us to get accustomed to. My favorite thing with Allstate buying the Big 12 potentially, no deal finalized by the way, is that in the room they're like, hey, can't get rid of 12. Let's call it the Allstate 12 Conference. We don't want to get rid of 12, despite the fact there is now 16 teams in the Big 12, and they haven't had simply 12 since 2010. College sports, man, you can't make it up.
Yeah, they got to change that. And same thing like the ACC. Hey, it's the Atlantic Coast these teams playing. Yeah, you check the new ACC. Now it's basically a national brand. So why not just do away with the 12 altogether? Just call it the All-State Conference. Be done with it. I wouldn't have any issues with that.
Before we get to all the changes, a College World Series this weekend starts next.
When it comes to betting on sports, injuries matter, and Sports Injury Central has you covered all year long with expert injury analysis and injury-based picks for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Our former pro sports doctors have unmatched experience to analyze every injury so you know the impact of the player, team, and their upcoming matchup. Whether it's articles, podcasts, player insights, or our patented injury scores, Sports Injury Central will help you keep up with your fantasy team and make more informed wagers. So make sure you follow Sports Injury Central and gain an edge at SixScore.com.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, getting ready for baseball season, but a key baseball season is about to end in, I don't know, roughly 7 to 10 days. The College World Series. Now, here's what we like. We know, Ben, in a championship round, we're at least going to get more than 4 games in the College World Series, unlike we're getting in the NBA Finals, unlike we're getting in the NHL. Right. And that all starts today, a doubleheader So before we get to the games itself, let's just let the people in, Ben, on what's going on and what's at stake right now. You take a look at the College World Series odds. Tennessee, Texas A&M, Kentucky, North Carolina, Florida State, Virginia, Florida, and NC State will battle for it all. And by the way, shout out some of those conferences doing some real damage here. We're not getting any across the board. Like, hey, it's a lot of parity out here. Certain conferences certainly dominating here. But tell the people again how this tournament plays out, how long it lasts, and also what it takes to win the College World Series.
The ACC SEC Challenge. 4 schools out of the Southeastern Conference, 4 schools out of the Atlantic Coast Conference will duel this weekend and beyond. We run for about a week and a half in Omaha, Nebraska, with the first 2 games starting today. There are 2 brackets, 4 teams on each side of the bracket, and it's a double elimination format. So you can either play from the winner's bracket and continue to march toward a CWS final series, or you lose a game and you try to stay alive out of the loser's bracket on either side. The 2 champions of each bracket, of course, then face off in the CWS finals, which is a best-of-3 series. So as we look at the odds, some trends to know. Tennessee, the number 1 national seed, who was tested by Evansville in the Knoxville Super Regional, but did reach Omaha, the Omaha 8 as they are known, in the Men's College World Series, is the favorite. The Vols in action on this opening Friday at the CWS, plus 260. But Donnie, as we have shared, the seeding format of the national seeds, the top 16, entered the NCAA baseball tournament back in 1999. In the opening year, the number 1 national seed back in 99, Miami, was the national champion. Since that point, a number 1 national seed has never won the Men's College World Series and the national title. Tony Vitello and his Volunteers hoping to change that. A&M plus 350, second best price, but Kentucky is the number 2 national seed at plus 470. UNC has been saved by Vance Honeycutt time and again in Chapel Hill through the regional and super regional round. They are here. In fact, they got past LSU in that winner-take-all Game 7 in the regionals. LSU, the reigning national champs, not in Omaha, but it is a stacked, and I mean stacked field. 7 of the 8 schools, Donnie, were 7 of the 12 top national seeds, and Florida is the only non-national seed into the College World Series in Omaha. But the Gators were the preseason number 2 team in the country and played in the National Championship Series, that CWS Finals, a year ago. So obviously the talent led by Jack Caglione is there.
Double header today, 1 at 2 o'clock, 1 at 7 o'clock Eastern. The first one is an ACC showdown. It's the Cavaliers and the Tar Heels, a minus 125 favorite here for the Heels. And game number 2 is the Seminoles and the Volunteers, a minus 170 price here for the Volunteers. What might we be seeing on the diamond today, Ben?
So there's going to be some really great action. And one thing we should know, the regional round, super regional round, played at on-site campus locations throughout the first 2 weekends of the NCAA tournament. This, of course, at Charles Schwab Field in downtown Omaha. That has the dimensions that more closely mirror a Major League ballpark than what you might see around the country in college baseball. And you will look at totals that are very large. There is not really going to be many college baseball games that feature a single-digit total, less than 10, maybe when we get to the CWS Finals or some elimination games if the pitching matchup is good, but most in double digits. But I'm going to fade the idea that we see offense because of the dimensions of Charles Schwab Field. I like the under in the first game between UVA and UNC.
How about this weekend's action as well, Ben? Wolfpack, Wildcats, Gators, and the Aggies. Monster, the biggest favorite right now in the FanDuel Sportsbook is the Aggies at a minus 205 price. So any thoughts or insights on any of the weekend contests outside of Friday?
Yeah, Kentucky's a really solid ball club. I think their third best price of plus 470 does have some value. Their first appearance in the Men's College World Series. Florida, again, stacking up on paper, is not as good as Texas A&M. But they have all the talent in the world. And Jack Caglione is a name that you need to know. He's going to go top 5, maybe top 2 at next month's Major League Baseball draft. If they throw him a pitch, more than likely he is going to hit it over the wall. Keep an eye on those totals, though, in the first games as they adapt to the big ballpark in downtown Omaha. More on the early line up next.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Game number 4 of the 2024 NBA Finals tonight in Dallas. Is it over? Will it be a Celtics sweep, or can the Mavericks win their first game of this championship set and at least extend it after the weekend to a Game 5 back in Boston on Monday? Our coach, James Young, JY, is here to give you his scouting report for what still remains. At least Game 4 tonight in the NBA Finals, and maybe anything beyond. JY, thanks for being here on this Friday morning.
Gentlemen, good morning. Hopefully this is not the last time we're talking NBA Finals, but we need another team to show up, and all of them, and some people stay away from the referees.
Yeah, that necessarily needs to happen for the Dallas Mavericks. This is the only time in the NBA Finals that we will see just one day between games. If it is extended, because we will change venues from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, it would be multiple days off. This is the only time, just one day in between. So yesterday, JY, you weren't here, or were you here with us? I can't even remember. All the days blend together. You were not here with us looking back on game number 3. So let's get some thoughts on what we saw and what it means for game number 4. You mentioned taking some of your frustration away from complaining at the officials. That was Luka Doncic on Wednesday night, fouling out with 4 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in regulation. His frustration overwhelming his greatness and picking up a couple of bad fouls, including trying to take a charge nearly 30 feet away from the basket against Jaylen Brown. That was his 6th and final. How would you categorize Luka Doncic's performance in game number 3 when the Mavericks needed it most?
Disappointing at best when times were needed you the most. And I think when you look at the situation, I want people to understand this from a coach's standpoint. Me, personally. If you think about the play, right, the block charge, I don't want to get into, Ben, whether it was a block or it was a charge. When you are the star player, when you are the face of the franchise and you have 5 fouls, especially with the way you don't play defense and you're getting exposed on that end of the floor, that is one chance, Ben, you cannot take. Now, if he thought that if Brown had 5 fouls and he had 5 and you want to take a chance, I can understand it a little bit. But when you're the star player, when you finally got Kyrie Irving to be playing, at least in the first half, fantastic basketball. You have no Porzingis. You have drives to the basket. You have the ability to finish games. To me, a bang-bang play with 4 minutes left to go in the game is not worthy of you trying to win it there. You're not going to win the game there. You could lose the game there, and that's what happened. And to me, Ben, even bigger than that, I have a bigger problem with the press conference, because what I saw is a player that showed no accountability and no responsibility for his action, how he was, how he treated the bench, his decorum. It was a disgrace. And if Luka Doncic is going to be a winner, a true winner in this league, and win championships, he's got to stop worrying about the officials. But more importantly, he has to be committed to the defensive side of the ball at all times. It starts and ends with you on both sides of the floor.
Mavericks need a win, Coach, to extend this series. But if we take a look at the Celtics with a win and what that means to them, the 10th sweep in NBA Finals history, and also a 16-2 playoff record, which would be the 5th best of all time. Talk to us here about, if we do see the series end in 4 games, what that means towards the Celtics franchise and this team's legacy.
Well, obviously, getting championship number 18 is going to be all important for them, right? I think that's an important thing that would for any franchise to win. To me, what a sweep does, Donnie, is it shuts everybody up with the, oh, well, they played the first round and there was no Jimmy Butler. Oh, they played the second round, 2 games without Donovan Mitchell. Oh, they played the conference finals. Tyrese Halliburton misses 2.5 games. Well, you just played Dallas Mavericks with their entire team, and you rolled them in 4 games. So it kind of puts together a way that narrative, including yours truly, with who have they played leading up to this point. So I think that is the important thing you take from this, is the fact that if they sweep, it's a great, great run for a team that, let's be honest, whether they sweep or win in 5 or win in 6 or win in 7, which I think it's probably over tonight. I'm going back and forth. It is a team that is young, and if their window ain't closed, it is wide open for the next number of years, with Brown and Tatum being so young.
A historic playoff run for what would be a historic NBA championship. 18 of them in Beantown, their first since 2008. Those 18 NBA championships would surpass the LA Lakers for the most in NBA history. And this season was going to be defined by this core led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, winning not just the Eastern Conference, but the NBA title and Larry O'Brien trophy as well. It could come to a close tonight. JY, when you have been here looking at the first few games of the NBA Finals, the main thing that you pointed out after the opening game, in the first 2 games in Boston, Kyrie Irving simply had to be better. That was the biggest change that Dallas needed entering game number 3. Boston, as of right now, is a minus 8,000 favorite to win the NBA championship. But if we remember, just about 48 hours ago, Boston entering game 3 just minus 770. Kristaps Porzingis not going to play, likely out for the remainder of the NBA Finals. There was a sliver of hope the Mavericks could do something to make this series even slightly more competitive. Kyrie Irving goes out and pours in 35 points, and yet Boston still wins game 3 by 7, 106-99. So knowing all of that, from a coaching perspective, what does Dallas fall back on tonight in game number 4?
Simply put, Ben, they have to win the 3-point line, or at least lose it close. If you look at every game, if I'm not mistaken, Ben, it's at least 20 points. I think it was 24 points that Boston got more from the 3-point line. In this day and age in the NBA, you have to be able to shoot the 3 and you have to be able to defend the 3. You cannot be a team that's going to put yourself in a 24-point hole at the 3-point line. That is something that teams have to think about, not just Dallas, but moving forward in the future. You have to be able to guard the 3, and that you have to be able to defend the 3. If you're able to do that, that takes away the equalizer of the 3-point shot. The NBA game is so much different than it was in the 80s and even in the early 90s, even early 2000s. The game used to be won on the interior. Ben, you could say now the NBA is won and lost at the 3-point line.
It's really interesting to think because it is the ultimate equalizer at this point, and we just need to see much, much better shooting from some of those role players there for the Mavericks. Coach, if we're looking at this series and could it be extended, there is some money to be made. If this series ends tonight in 4 games, it's a minus 115 price. If we do get the 5 games back in Boston, it's a plus 170 price, but you're looking at some pretty good numbers in game 6s and 7s with a 12-1 price and a 9-1 price. Is there any chance that we can see not only a game number 5, but even get to a game 6 or a game 7, in your opinion?
If this got to 7, I'd be floored.
Come on,
I'd
now.
be honest with you. I'd be stunned if it gets to 6. If you're going to ask me plus money, I like it to go in 5. I could see Dallas kind of finding a way, grinding their way, and then Boston going home and celebrating in 5 games. That's the way I would look at it, because to me, if you're Dallas, you should be desperate. There is a path to success. It is your 2-star players playing well. It is your 1-star player staying away from the referees. It is being better at the 3-point line. And I don't think Porzingis plays again, so you just keep attacking the basket. There's a pathway to do it. The bigger issue is, Donnie, can they do it?
Yeah. Plus 170, that number right now, both on the series going 5 and Boston winning in 5, because it's only the Celtics who can win this series in 5 at plus 170. Again, this is the 157th all-time NBA playoff series where a team has had a 3-0 series advantage in a best of 7. The previous 156 have all been decided and won by the team that had the 3-0 series lead. So what do we see in Game 4? We'll break it down next.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, so let's dive deep into game number 4 tonight in Dallas of the 2024 NBA Finals. Our coach, James Young, gave you his assessment that if anything, maybe we see 5, but maybe not more than that. Could it only be 4? Could it be a Celtics sweep going victorious on the road tonight? in the Lone Star State. JY, as of yesterday, the Mavericks were still booked as an ever so slight home favorite. Minus 112 on the money line. Again, a very slight home favorite. As of this Friday morning, the line has completely reversed. It was minus 116 in favor of Boston. Updated numbers on the FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 112 in favor of the C's. Let's start with the numbers first and foremost. Boston, a 3-point underdog in Game 3. They win outright. Now, at least as they will be noted, the favorite into Game 4. Do you agree with the odds movement?
Yeah, I agree with the odds movement because we haven't had a team in Dallas show up and play a complete game yet. You haven't had the two superstars do what they're capable of. So it does make sense that Boston is a very slight favorite because you can also look at the fact that can you see a team in Dallas, with all due respect, do they just pack it in, knowing that it's so hard to, no one's come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA Finals. So to me, that is something that is, going to be tough for them. But if you're Jason Kidd, all you want to do is just extend it for a couple of more days. So I think that is what is going to be the issue here, is trying to just extend it for one more day.
JY, I think if you can hear me, we're having some technical difficulties with your picture. It looked as though
back.
Now maybe he's back.
Yeah.
Listen, JY ain't done. Dallas might be done tonight in the NBA Finals, but James Young is not. So, Donnie, you want to take this next question since he was kind of responding to mine in the natural flow of things?
Yes.
As we're so good at doing, you would just jump in with the next question?
Exactly. Now, if we're taking a look at the side of the game, we'll see. And maybe it is going to be Boston. As we said, 7 out of every 10 tickets at the FanDuel Sportsbook currently coming in on the Boston Celtics. How about the total, Coach? 211.5. I always like to say in closeout game situations, boy, that fourth quarter is going to be about defense, and more defense. What are we looking at for that 211 standpoint? Do you see this game going over or have a tendency possibly to stay under here?
This is the one that I can't get a read on. But to me, it's more about, if you're asking me, I don't want a whole team total. I want the whole game. I want the team total. I'm looking at 105.5. I keep saying I need Dallas to get to about 110, right? I think it was 107.5 in last game. It's now 105.5. They got to find a way to get to 108 to 110. That, to me, is that magic number. So to me, if you ask more than anything, not the whole overall total, I'm going to just say Dallas to go over 105.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook is the way I would be looking at the game in the total. Just in case it's a blowout one way and maybe Missoula kind of sits his guys a little bit, they got to feel good about themselves offensively, Dallas. And if they're going to win, they're not going to win scoring 100 or 102. They got to get to 108, 110 plus.
One of the sneaky storylines of this series, the Mavericks have not reached the century mark yet in the NBA Finals. 89 in Game 1, 98 in Game 2, nearly there, but finishing with 99 in Game number 3. In fact, the Mavericks have now played 12 playoff games throughout this postseason that have featured a total greater than 210. 10 of the 12 have stayed under, including all 3 so far in this NBA championship series. In Game number 3, it was the Jays both stepping up. Jason Tatum, Boston's leading scorer, with 31. Jaylen Brown pouring in 30. The only other Celtic player to get to double figures was Derek White. He finished with 16, nailing 4 triples. JY, we'll get to the NBA Finals MVP conversation in just a moment. But if you're back in Boston props, where does your eye go first in Game number 4 tonight?
Well, I think you have to look at Jason Tatum and see if he can come out to a big start. I think that's one thing you're going to look at is, can your star player, and I've been really big, and like this last game, is first quarter points. Right now, Jason Tatum is over 7.5 points at plus 108. If you are going to try and slay it and try and finish it early, you want to get the crowd out of the game as quickly as possible. You don't want them to believe. So that means Jason Tatum has to go off. Over 7.5 points at plus 108 in the FanDuel Sportsbook. That's how I look at it. A guy that struggled the first 2 games, really came on in Game number 3. Does he carry the momentum into Game number 4? Jason Tatum over 7.5 points in the first quarter. I think there's going to be points early on in this game, and I'm really looking at the 3 superstars three of the four superstars to try and go off early, especially the fact that not just Tatum, but Kyrie and Luka, all of their first quarter props are plus money.
Now, let's take a look at the Dallas Mavericks, too, because, again, it always starts with the two superstars and how many points they can get. In the last game, you got exactly the start you wanted out of Kyrie Irving. So if I'm going to ask you, Coach, between Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, if we look at the point structure here, Luka is 32.5 at FanDuel. You take a look at Kyrie Irving, 25.5. If you had to bet one of those players to go over their totals or under their totals, which one would it be?
If Luka wants to kind of have any kind of narrative change, Luka's got to go absolutely off.
Yeah,
but
agree.
If to start the game, I think it's Kyrie that's going to be going off early. His points prop was at 4.5 in game number 3. He smashed that thing early in game number 3, and they just moved it up to 5.5 at plus 108. Kyrie Irving, who knocked down 4 threes in the last game, should come out firing, because I keep looking at the fact that with no Porzingis, if he does not play, there goes the shot blocking presence. So either you have to sit off of him and give him the 3, or you get up on him and he gets the lane with no rim protector. Kyrie Irving plus 108 over 5.5 points in the first quarter.
0 for 8 was Kyrie in the first 2 games from deep of this NBA Finals. Made 4 triples in game number 3. His 3-point prop tonight, 2.5. One thing kind of lost in the conversation of game 3 is actually that Dallas's duo outscored the Jays despite both Tatum and Brown reaching the 30-point benchmark. At least on paper, that is the recipe for success for the Mavericks. And Luka would have also probably gotten to 30 had he played the final 4 minutes of regulation and not fouled out due to frustration. So it's a 3-0 series lead for Boston. We've talked about any hope in Game 4. Maybe the most intriguing debate, who wins NBA Finals MVP next?
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
So I think it bears repeating. This is the 157th time in NBA playoff history in a best-of-7 series, a team has held a 3-0 series advantage. In the prior 156, the team up 3-0 has won all 156 sets. Only 12 times have we seen a team in an 0-3 hole even win back-to-back games to force a Game 6. Only 4 times have we ever seen a series like this go 7. I'm throwing out these facts and figures because the series is over. The Boston Celtics are going to win an NBA championship. If we see something for a historic first, clip this off and share it. I would love for that to be a part of my resume. So, JY, maybe the intriguing conversation is not who wins the Larry O'Brien trophy, but who wins the NBA Finals MVP. And right now it's a battle, it would seem, between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We're entering Game 3, both guys in plus money, but Tatum a slightly shorter price than that of Brown, plus 140 for Jason, plus 155 for Jaylen. After Game 3, despite Tatum scoring more points, 31-30, Jaylen Brown's now a minus 340, half the odds-on favorite to win NBA Finals MVP. So entering game number 4, are the odds correct? Is Jaylen Brown going to stroll into his second consecutive MVP award? First in the ECF, now in the NBA Finals?
It would be amazing because I feel like if they do this, like Jason Tatum has been the anointed one out of the two. He's always been the anointed one, right? And if you think about it in the 22 NBA Finals versus Golden State, who is better? Jaylen Brown. Eastern Conference Finals this year. Who's been better? Jaylen Brown. Who's been better in the finals? Probably Jaylen Brown because of the fact that Tatum struggled the first 2 games to score the ball. But I don't think it's as wide as this, Ben. And I think that is what is interesting is can you see a pathway of Tatum coming back and stealing it? Yes. Let's say Tatum goes out and gets you, a double-double or close to a triple-double, which is something he has come close to in this. Then I would say, yeah, there is a pathway here for that. So I'm not going to bet Brown to do it. If I'm going to take a chance, I'm going to take a chance on Jason Tatum, a guy that is averaging, while he's been pedestrian, only 21.7 points per game, is getting 8.7 rebounds, 7.3 assists. So he's doing other things. If he can put together a big scoring game, a 30, 35-point game tonight, Brown struggles a little bit. I could see a pathway, especially if he does the rebounding and the assists as well.
If we are looking at those 2 players, and again, that's a lot of, for the future of the franchise to say we won the NBA championship is important, but also getting that hardware as the MVP in the finals. If you are looking at those 2 players, which side would you actually take? Would it be an assist prop? Would it be a rebound prop? Would it be a points prop? Which way would you go on this?
I would go the scoring prop with Tatum. I think I feel like if he's going to try, if I'm saying that I would have a value of Tatum, winning this MVP at plus 270, then I have to be looking at he's going to have a 30-point game. Right? Because that's the only chance he gets if he goes off and he has a big scoring game tonight. And it's someone, let's be honest, guys, he is more than capable of doing so. If you want to look at another thing to look at, maybe look at the 3-point volume. He's had 7, and 13 shot attempts from the 3-point line. So you could look at the fact of, could Tatum be looking at his 3-point prop? It's another way that he can get on. And right now, Jason Tatum's 3-point prop is over 3.5 at plus 138. 7 attempts a game, 13 and 1 of them. He's going to get the attempts. It's the points, yes, but that over 3.5 at plus 138 is mighty enticing.
He made 4 threes, did Jason Tatum in game number 3. Again, Boston's leading scorer with 31. Let me just throw in this wrinkle because a couple of guys have been added to the NBA Finals MVP conversation as of this Friday morning on the FanDuel Sportsbook, Kyrie Irving and Derek White. JY, if Boston wins tonight, is there any chance anybody not named Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown wins the NBA Finals MVP award?
I mean, if you can look at the 26-11 that Drew Holiday had, and he goes off and does another monster performance, maybe. But to me, we're not going to run into the Andre Iguodala thing of years past. I think it's one of those 2 guys that's going to win the MVP. I think, obviously Brown is leader of the clubhouse, but if I think Tatum, like I said, is going to have a 30-plus point game, then I'm looking at that.
It's why tonight is so important because it could be the last game of the NBA season, and we might only have another one after it, even if the Mavericks stave off elimination. Is this the final fadeaway to the break of the NBA season? Could it be? I mean, there's NBA draft talk to get into the next 2 days.
Coach.
But is this the final fadeaway to the break?
That was
Gotta make it worth it. Hour 2 next.